Hello everyone and welcome to SWC Note.txt, where we break down the biggest news from SWC. This is goals. That's old news. It's all about the .txt. Digon here. Joining me is Make It a Bud and Stoic. And guys, we have our America's Cup preliminaries underway, so we have to take a look at some of the biggest units that we saw from the early days of play. And let's start with an Fire Elemental unit. We've seen it happen every single year, but very impactful this year. It's the Fire Beast Rider. It's Masha. Why is this unit so strong here, Make It a Bud?
I mean, Masha has the ability to give itself immunity so whenever it attacks with its passive. So being able to protect itself allows it to basically roam free and damage units and snipe them off. And also with that skill too, the ability to defense break allows it to do a ton of damage. And then if you happen to get a proc, oftentimes that's a dead unit.
Stoic, so we got to see Fire Beast Rider used multiple times here. What was it good against and what was it good with synergizing?
Well, Masha is definitely used against any wind unit out there. Masha is able to bring a ton of damage to the table with the low cooldowns on second skill, providing that defense break, especially if it's built on Violent, able to capitalize on that exact defense break, removing almost anything in its path. And we've seen a lot of that in many of the matches during the tournament.
All right, Stoic, we've seen a lot of Masha here in America's Cup preliminaries. So how do our viewers at home want to rune her if they've got one?
They would probably be runing Masha on Violent Nemesis. Violent Nemesis is going to be unlocking the true potential of that unit. So when they hit it, Masha's going to be able to get her turns even quicker and to be able to pump out that damage even more. The more turns she's going to take, the more times that she's going to get that immunity back up in her passive. Now, where you're going to be tuning her, you can tune her behind your strippers so that you're able to get strips, remove buffs, and then capitalize off of that low cooldown defense break second skill.
Now moving on to our next element, the water unit that was popping up and playing a key factor here is a new one in the America's Cup meta. It is the water on the Yuji, Shizuka. Why is this all of a sudden popping up here, Make It a Bud?
I mean, Shizuka just allows a lot of flexibility in the draft and also allows a lot of forgiveness against RNG that comes your way. So Shizuka's skill 2 allows you to first reset the cooldown by 1 for a unit's skills. And then also, if the unit is alive, it allows it to protect soul, right? And then if the unit's dead, it'll bring it back alive, and then if that unit has skills available, it'll use skills. So a lot of times you'll see Shizuka pair with Oberon, or it can bring a Chung Pung back and have, you know, that impactful skill even though that unit is already dead. And then of course, you know, there's that big skill which applies a buff on every single one of your units as long as that buff has made an appearance onto the field at some point in the game, and also applies a debuff onto your opponent's side of the field as long as that debuff has appeared on at some point in this game. So it's a highly swingy skill, allows you to dig yourself out of a lot of tough situations, and that skill 2 is just such a resilient utility skill that allows you to have impact throughout.
So I'm going to pose the same question I asked Stoic earlier to this monster. If you have a Shizuka, how do you want to go about ruining it here, Make It a Bud?
I mean, the general consensus build is a Violent Will build. Generally running it either in front or behind your team is okay. Somewhere in the middle is also okay. Depends on how you want to lay out your comp. But Violent Will, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either do it on max res. A lot of players will like that max res. I personally prefer something really tanky because I don't really believe in resistance. It's a fake stat, and everyone a lot of times has high accuracy anyway. So I prefer something like 37, 38k HP with like 12 to 13k 100 defense and some minus win artifacts in case there's a dominant coming in. That's a personal preference, of course. Your stats will vary depending on what level you're in, what level you're at, and also your preference on resistance or no res.
All right, and our third element of the tournament that has popped up, and we could have gone with a bunch of different units here for wind, but we decided to go with Oliver. Oliver, the pushback there, it's pretty clear why people would use it, but how they were using it, Stoic, was very impressive.
It really was. I mean, Oliver, extremely impactful unit and can really, really keep people back from doing absolutely anything. He's got every skill to push back attack bar on skill 1, 2, and 3, but it's that third skill that really drives it home. You've got the third skill. It's going to reduce the attack bar almost to full. You're going to gain attack bar as well. That's what causes him to just keep going with violent procs as well. The skill 2 has the ability to reset by 1 turn and push back attack bar as well. He's a crazy, oppressive unit.
Oliver has popped up in the meta a little bit more. If you're a new player and you got yourself an Oliver, lucky you, but how do they go about building it at home, Stoic?
They are definitely going to be building this on Violent Will. You must take advantage of his ability to gain turns and keep getting turns here. That's why it's so oppressive. Put it on Violent, put it on Will, protect those cooldowns, and once you get that thing going, you don't want it to stop. So you'll be praying for every one of those procs to keep going so that you can keep yourself in the match.
Well, there you have it. These are 3 of the key units we saw from each elemental type from days 1 and 2. So time for us to take a peek at the results in our brand new segment here for SWC. It's called Bracketology. All right, so our SWC Bracketology game is for myself and the 2 big brains I share the screen with to make our guesses on who's going to win each match from preliminaries day 1 and 2, as well as day 3, now that we know who is in day 3, and the America's Cup when we have our 8 competitors. We'll get 1 point for each correct guess, and we've already put in our guesses for days 1 and 2, so why don't we get that envelope? It's been sealed, so everyone knows it hasn't been tampered with. See that? Closed. This time, all right, we'll open it up, and whoever has the most points at the end of it, by the end of the America's Cup, will get to take home a pretty cool prize. It's the twins figurines, that's right, the Fire Boomerang Warrior and the Fire Chakram Dancer figurines. One of the coolest things that you could get here in the fandom of Summoner's War, so hopefully I'll get the most points. Well, let's see how we did now that we've got it. Written down in paper. All right, so for days 1 and 2, I got Zephyr correct and Spires correct once. I thought Topavi was going to win. And then I got True Whale, Raigeki, and Madreamd correct, but I also thought Thompson was going to win and True Whale was going to win it all. So I had a total of 6 points. For Make It a Bud, he thought El Mimo was going to win it all on the top side of his bracket, which was incorrect, but did get Zephyr and Spires correct, with Spires going all the way through. So 4 points for day 1. And then True Whale and Raigeki getting the win, but he thought True Whale was going to win, and also he got both of them wrong on the opposite side with Dreams Joseph and Thompson. Thompson letting us all down, man. All right, so a total of 6 points here for Make It a Bud. Then for Stoic, he got El Mimo, Zephyr, and Spires correct, but he thought El Mimo was going to win and fell into the Topa V trap. And then also got True Whale, Raigeki, and Madreamd correct for a total of 7 points. So 7 for Stoic, and then 6 for me and Make It a Bud. So I got to ask, Stoic, how did you know that it was going to be Madreamd getting the win?
You know, you just get a good feeling about that match, and I figured if you did so well last year that it was going to do really well this year as well. So I had to take Madreamd over Dreams Joseph.
Well, that was the big difference maker here. How does it feel, Make It a Bud, knowing that you're as smart as me?
Feels great. I mean, I think you're a smart individual, and that's a compliment to me.
All right, hey, you guy, I missed you too, man. All right, let's take a look at those actual matches. We want to highlight some of the big ones, and so from day 1, the one that we have is Zephyr versus El Mimo. Again, El Mimo making his debut on the stage, but has always had a presence on the ladder. And Zephyrius has been close, but hasn't been able to get over the hump. Last year made it to the quarterfinals, but this year booking his ticket in the first go. Make It a Bud, what jumped out at you?
I mean, what jumped out at me was how impressive Zephyrius was able to draft. Was able to break through El Mimo's defenses, use Bulwark to great effect. Was able to bring in a lot of damage because of that unit. It was also able to use Cadiz and keep down that Wind Monkey, keep down and control El Mimo, and survive the onslaught of El Mimo's units. As you can see, El Mimo did a lot of damage with the Druids. Very heavy units did a lot of damage, but Zephyr was able to hang in there, score kills, even through Nanas, even through Riley's, even through Molly's, and was able to come back and do a reverse sweep.
Good on Zephyr. Now for day number 2, our finals match there, it was Raigeki versus True Whale. This was a battle between 2 huge thinkers here, Stoic, and probably considered an upset. True Whale still has had trouble closing things out here, but Raigeki deservingly gets his spot into the America's Cup.
Raigeki definitely deservingly gets his spot to America's Cup. He played excellent going up against True Whale. I feel like we didn't get to see the very aggressive True Whale that we could have seen before. I feel like both players were not looking for that turn 1 so much, and we're playing both turn 2 towards each other. And it just happened to be in Raigeki's favor, to be honest, that, you know, in a turn 2 world, it should have been True Whale, but Raigeki really played his matches and did thoroughly well against True Whale.
Yeah, again, a great deal of patience, and even that final set that we saw, I think it was a numbers advantage for Raigeki, and then we got to see the rune power that True Whale brought, but Raigeki was able to outlast and survive and qualify on in to the America's Cup, which then leads us to our day 3 bracket. And guys, it is scary. We have many big names that will eventually be running into each other in the bracket, whether it's in the first round or the qualifying round, as we take a look at that right now. Our first match of the day is Edward versus Thompson. This one, we can imagine, hopefully, Thompson, the former America's Cup champion, the former runner-up at the World's Finals, will find form and qualify on through against Edward, but awaiting him afterwards is True Whale. What do you make of this journey between these two matches here that are going to take place here, Make It a Bud?
Well, I can tell you, if you're Edward, you have a giant mountain to climb. If you put yourself in his shoes, he's got Thompson. And if he's able to make it through that, he has True Whale. 2 amazing players to get through. So Edward's got a lot of work to do, a lot of homework to do, and a lot of praying to do for this one. But this is going to be fireworks. If Thompson's able to make it through and draft correctly and play the game that we expect him to play, that True Whale versus Thompson matchup is going to be very exciting, especially because that one has a lot riding on it. And that also means in America's Cup, we're only going to see one of the two, assuming Edward doesn't make it. We're only going to see either True Whale or Thompson make it through, which some fans at home might not be happy about.
Again, anything can happen, as it always does in SWC. But boy, only one of the two is I think a sad thing. It's sad. You want to see America's best, but you know, I think the guys that qualified are the America's region's best. So some, I guess, questions still need to be answered here for all 3 of those players. Now, moving on over to our second match, it'll be Topa V versus Hope, with last year's runner-up from America's Cup and world participant Madreamd waiting in the wings. So this one I throw to you, Stoic. What do you make of these 2 matches?
That's very interesting, because Hope is actually a consistent viewer of Topa V's on Twitch. So for Hope to have to get paired up with Topa V that's actually pretty exciting, where Hope should know and should have his best chance going up against someone he knows very, very well. Now, that being said, I do think Topa V should be taking this match over Topa V, understanding how Topa V is going to be playing, especially how Topa V has been talking live on stream, even at this moment, about how well he's been doing, the things he should be changing. So Hope, it is looking really good, and he may have exactly what it takes to move forward. But if it's Topa V or Hope going against Madreamd, I see Madreamd taking both of these players.
Madreamd, with his creativity, his box, and now experience on the global stage, will be a tough test for whoever wins that initial match. All right, our third set of the day, it's going to be Falling Flower versus Q-Dizzle, who Q-Dizzle, again, put True Whale on notice by stealing that first game away at the top of the day. And then awaiting them is the semifinals from day number 1, Lechonk. And so these 3 players, all new, all debutantes, haven't had the biggest success on the global stage because this is their first time through, which means we're going to have one of them making it to the America's Cup. Make It a Bud, what do you make of this?
I mean, I think this one could go either way. I mean, originally I would say Falling Flowers got a good shot. Is a guildie of less, comes from the China server, generally plays with elemental units very well, but Q-Dizzle had a very good showing against True Whale today, was able to actually take a game and actually almost take 2 games off True Whale. So I really could see this one going either way, and it might come down to procs and how they dip into each other's boxes.
All right, and for our final set, our last 3 players, it's Kaiju number 8, also we like to call him Kaijuno, but Kaiju number 8, we'll make sure we get that one right here, up against Dreams Joseph, who, again, these are 2 huge thinkers here, and awaiting them in the wings is El Mimo, who had himself a good run in day number 1, but only one can move on between these 3. Stoic, how do you make of this?
Oh, Dreams Joseph has the victory over Kaiju number 8. Most definitely, I can't help but say our previous America's Cup champion, Dreams Joseph, I think it's going to be in a walk in the park for him. He's definitely going to be taking that victory. But Dreams Joseph versus El Mimo, I mean, you can't count El Mimo out just because he made it into the loser bracket. I think El Mimo is going to be taking that victory away and moving forward.
All right, there you have it, our day 3 matchups and what some of the big brains think of them. But as always, you never know how it's going to go until we finally load on in, the drafts are in, and the units are on the field. I cannot wait to see what happens here. Well, with that, that closes our first episode of SWC Notes.txt. Very excited to see as the pressure rises for every single player that is playing in Elimination Day, day number 3, which will be on August 27th. You don't want to miss it to see who qualifies for the America's Cup. On behalf of myself, Stoic, and Make It a Bud, we hope to see you there.